So excited to have these three gallerists here today to answer some questions and share with you their insight into what galleries are looking for. So our first question is, what practices do you expect in a professional artist? And that's kind of a big, open, general question. So Ashley, if you wouldn't mind addressing that and maybe mention some, just in general, what you're looking for in professional artists that you want to show in your gallery.
All right, yeah, that is a big umbrella. So I think step one that we can all agree on is dedication to your artistic practice. Being able to approach a gallery with a nice curated portfolio that represents your best work, and just a clear, cohesive style that just makes it a lot easier for us to help promote you and just share your message with the collectors. On that note too, I think communication and being reliable is extremely important, especially around, artwork logistics, and exhibition deadlines. Be on time for meetings, stick to deadlines, deliver work on time. I also appreciate artists who are open to at least understanding the business side of things and like where I'm coming from. So it's not just so one-sided and artists just drop their work off and then, leave running. I'm shocked at how many artists actually don't read their contracts. So please do. It makes things a lot easier because then we both have an understanding of our expectations and who's responsible for what in the relationship that we're going to have. And also, I think a consistent brand and online presence is very important for an artist to have right now.
Okay, Ashley, thanks so much for sharing that with us. And Tavy, if you want to add anything to that from your experience and perspective from your gallery.
Sure. That was great because I totally agree with all those things. I want to double emphasize, read your contract. It is very painful for me to call an artist out on their contract. And it's very frustrating. And I certainly understand I am an artist, but when artists don't follow their contract, and our contract will say that the work can't show in a certain range, physical range, for a certain number of months after it's shown with us. There's a lot of artists who turn around, put it in another show down the street. What? That's in your contract. So things like that. I want to also say, artists, pay attention to your presentation. I can't tell you how many artists come in and show me their drawings or whatever, and I'm like, how are you going to present that in a gallery? Like they don't have any idea of how it's going to actually be shown in the gallery, presented. Also, I expect professional behavior in the sense of don't undercut your gallery. The gallery relationship is important, and a lot of artists are very tempted to sell work out of their studios at a much lower price. We've actually had artists at their openings advise people that they could get it from their studio as soon as the show's over. Are you kidding me? Never show that artist again.
Yeah.
Ever. And what artists don't know is that the artist might not tell me about that. That happened to be overheard. But often the collector who got a deal brags to me about the deal. Wow. Never show that artist again.
Yeah.
So anyway, just so you guys understand that, whereas gallerists, we're putting in time and energy and effort and a space, and like to have that respected and honored. And then I'll go back to just the presentation. I can't tell you the number of artists who've said they've dropped off a giant drawing. This will hang great on these magnets. Wow, they have never actually installed it on magnets in their studio. Or a ceramicist, this will hang. They deliver it. Even people who've been doing ceramics for decades will deliver me things that have never been hung. And when you try to hang something on the little piece they put there, you literally can't get the screw in. Like, pay attention to those kinds of details. I expect that when an artist delivers their work, it's ready to install and it's professionally put together. And I'm going to throw in this about non-glare glass. Think about it, or using cheap plex warps and the lights catch it, your work doesn't look good. Invest in the quality presentation for your work.
So much for sharing those recommendations and some of those specifics as well. And Karen, do you want to add to that? Are there other things that
Wow.
to
Wow. You
include?
just really, hit a lot of sore points for me. If you're looking for a gallery and you want to commit with a gallery, commit and be there for them and support them, and they will support you. It's a two-way street. And a presentation is everything. If you work on paper, you need to know that you are going to have to frame it. I'm one of those lucky people that I have people that work for me, and I myself, we make it work no matter what. We will. But don't walk on paper if you don't have the resources to make the pieces look professional. What I think is most important is whether you have a contract or not, you have to commit to your gallery and they commit to you, and you have to have mutual respect.
Okay, Karen, thank you so much for sharing that. So one thing that I've experienced as being a gallerist myself is, there are no secrets in the art world. The word gets around. So if somebody does something that is upsetting or difficult or not fair to the gallery, other gallerists find out about it. So it's really important to follow the letter of the contract. Okay, so thank you, gallerists, for sharing that. So we talked about a little bit about the relationship with the artist. So Tavy, if you wouldn't mind addressing how relevant is your relationship with the artist, with each artist that you work with, and how does that affect your business?
Well, anything that I say in general, there's almost always an exception to it. So that's very, very nuanced about the art world. The relationships are important, and we have long-term relationships with some artists and short-term relationships with some artists. So I try to be clear with artists what kind of relationship we're entering into to start. And so someone who we have a shorter term relationship, we may not get to know that artist very well, but certainly that mutual respect for each other. Ruth and Cameron care very much about art, artists, art history, they're art educators, so they're very passionate about it. And we like the relationship. I would say artists who come in and show up periodically, whether they're showing or not, we tend to have a long-term relationship with. And that might mean showing up for somebody else's opening, not necessarily showing up at everything, but once in a while coming in, checking in if they have a question. The relationship is important. And I would like to feel that artists could ask me if they have any question or concern about anything. I'm willing to talk it over with them. It's very valuable, and the long-term relationships are very meaningful.
Okay, Tavy, thank you so much for sharing that. So, an artist working with the gallery, it's almost like becoming a family member. You support each other, you help each other. So that's a really good attitude to take, is to show up to the gallery, keep in touch, like you would with family members. Okay, so Karen, if you want to unmute yourself and share with us your take on how relevant your relationship with artists are to your business.
Well, that is also, like any relationship. So my relationships with my artists tend to be like friendships. They talk to me, I talk to them. But most of my relationships now with the artists that I may have 30 artists, but the ones that I regularly sell, they're pretty close, pretty good. And I'll tell you, every time I have lost one for some reason, it is traumatic. I don't know. It is, because you know, they've offered me their souls, you know, they've entrusted me. Um, and so, and you do get close to some of them, and it can be difficult, but that's part of it too. And sometimes it's nothing that you did, it's just something that they may be going through, or vice versa, where it's not going to work right now anymore. It's not a good fit anymore. Things have changed. But
I was gonna say maybe not like a family, but like a really
right.
great collegial organization
Yeah,
that you're
I like
part
that.
of and you participate with. You
Right.
don't just show up for yourself to get everything you can get
Oh,
out of it.
thank you. That is so true. I don't think that artists really understand that part. You know, it's not so much, and I've been working on that, like just putting it out there to the universe. I want artists that are going to be supportive as of me, as well as me being supportive of you, because I do art fairs and I take them all over the place. And so you must be supportive. You must. It's not an if.
Okay, Karen, thank you so much for sharing that. Ashley, do you want to add to the discussion here?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. You know, obviously the relationships between a gallerist and artist kind of vary, as we mentioned, based on, you know, the arrangements that, you know, the artist and gallery have. So I've worked with artists from the very beginning, from 5 years ago up till now, and our relationship is obviously way different than someone who I just signed a consignment agreement with. But I think like overall, it's all about just building a positive team attitude, because right now there's like so much minutia and like, you know, we're getting hit with so many promotions all over that, you know, if all the artists kind of band together and support one another, you know, maybe you're not having a solo show this month, but another gallery artist is, and just cross promoting. Yeah, I think it's also just important to be transparent too, and just set clear expectations and make sure that all the artists and gallery feel like there's just an easy way for everyone to feel supportive and communicate with one another and just feeling understood. You know, we're all people at the end of the day.
So Karen, what makes you want to work with an artist again and again? What makes you want to continue your relationship with an artist?
Well, I would think, you know, for me, I mean, now we're talking about practicality, you know, an artist that sells, you know, is important. Um, an artist that is supportive. I'm having a show for one of my artists that I had a show for a couple of years ago, and I've done very well with her work. And I really like her as a person too, but she's seasoned. You know, she's been out there and she's in museums and stuff. I think it's exciting for me to watch an artist grow. You know, there are some of my artists that are, you know, consistent. They do the same paintings. And then there are other artists that are always changing, you know, which I find very, very fun. Um, so I have a bit of everything. So yes, sales are important. Absolutely. Am I not going to work with somebody if I can't sell their work? I'm not going to want to work with them anymore, but they're not going to work with me either. You're not selling my work, right? Okay. But just integrity in what they do and passion in what they do makes me uh, lean towards them and want to keep it up, keep moving. So I think integrity for their own artistic process and their own artistic being, you know, that they are solid. This is what I do, this is who I am, and I'm going to continue on this path.
Okay, Karen, thank you for expanding on that. And Ashley, if you want to add to that, what makes you want to work with an artist again and again?
Yeah, well, to piggyback off of what Karen said about sales, I know it might sound dirty, but you know, like that is how we began this relationship in the first place. That's why we're doing what we're doing, trying to, sell work, place your artwork in collectors' homes. Also, I think what makes me want to work with an artist again, just a general positive attitude. It is hard doing what we're doing. So, just having a positive attitude, nice demeanor, it always makes showing up just great. I would say artists who are actively engaged in what the gallery is doing, even though it might be outside of when they are showing. That's also nice. Just again, like that team spirit and professionalism, of course. If an artist always is able to meet deadlines, is a great communicator. And also, if you're an artist who is just ready to go, that is amazing, because sometimes I have clients that they want an image that they can blow up on the side of the building tomorrow. And, it's just great being able to have artists on hand that I can call, like, okay, great, you have high resolution images, but I can, pitch it to the client and we can make a sale. And again, I do have a lot of younger millennial clients. And so, like, if you're an artist who has an online presence and are able to self-promote and show up online consistently, that's just huge, because it just helps contribute to the gallery's overall reach and tends to lead to more sales and just, expands both of our audiences.
Okay, and could you address what you mean by online presence?
Mostly Instagram, showing up, being able to, it doesn't need to be every single day, but if you have an Instagram account where you're consistently showing your paintings or, whatever artwork you're showing, maybe a little behind the scene process. But if it is like nice and branded, versus if someone were to go to your Instagram and, you're making muffins all the time and you're, showing videos of your cats, like, that's cool. It's great to see you have other hobbies and interests. But, at the end of the day, we're here to try and market your work. We're creating this narrative and story about you and your artwork, and it just helps us just, contribute to the narrative and sell your work.
So Ashley, as a follow-up, if you have an artist that you're considering to take on as a new artist in your gallery, do you check out their Instagram in advance?
Oh, definitely. Yep.
Okay.
And that's usually how I find my artists. Step one.
Okay, that's great. So that's very insightful, Ashley. Thanks so much. And then Tavy, if you want to add on to what Karen and Ashley have mentioned about wanting to work with artists again and again.
Well, I think they covered it really nicely. Having a positive attitude, working with me as a gallery manager, sort of understanding what my limitations are. So if as an artist, you come to me and you're annoyed about something, hey, that doesn't help us out. Come in and say, I was wondering about this, instead of, what have you been doing? It's like, come on, I have a lot of balls in the air. It's hard to, I'm laughing because I want my artists to be really good communicators, but they might be frustrated with me because I'm communicating with so many people. I might not be that fast getting back to them. And I'd like them to cut me a little slack and grace on that, and just understand that, but definitely people with, who care about their work very much. We care. And I have the best conversations, and just those people I want to work with, who are positive, caring, passionate, and deliver on time. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tavy, for adding to that. And so we're going to go to Ashley. And so the opposite, what makes you not want to work with an artist?
Oh, goodness. Well, step one, I would say, yeah, if I'm working with an artist who is unprofessional and rude, I mean, that's right out the gate, not someone I would like to work with, just in general in life. So yeah, if an artist misses many deadlines, they always cancel last minute, or just being hard to reach and contact, That makes it difficult and doesn't contribute to our shared goal of making artwork sales. And we touched on it earlier, again, just not respecting the relationship with the gallery. So, an artist who sells directly to a client, like right after a gallery introduces the artist to the client, like secret studio sales and stuff, that hurts our feelings because like day in, day out, we're doing all the work behind the scenes to promote, to market. And yeah, it just sucks when you're cut out of the deal because that's what we're doing. That's like the shared goal that you think that we had. Another thing would be unrealistic expectations. This tends to be around pricing, which is another like delicate subject that I think we'll chat about later. But an artist that might, learned how to paint yesterday and wants to put $10,000 on it, that's a little unrealistic. And I guess another thing would be, again, I'm gonna just talk about the online world because the online world is the reality now. Having like negative social media posts or, spamming people and leaving negative comments on other people's posts does reflect poorly, not only on you, but in default, the gallery. So yeah, and then I guess that also ties into just having negative reactions if you are not accepted in a show. A recent example, I had a large group show. I had over 1,000 submissions. And of course, not every submission I could accept into the show. We had to narrow it down to about 75. So of course, there was a lot of artists that had to receive bad news. But there was one in particular that took it to social media and just started, throwing all the F-bombs everywhere. And I believe in freedom of speech, but it does not want me to, it doesn't make me want to work with that artist again.
Okay, Ashley, thank you for addressing that and giving us some specific examples. So Tavi, do you have anything to add to that as to what makes you not want to work with an artist?
Well, sure. And again, Ashley presented really great information there. Transmission works often with artists who've been doing their work 20 to 40 or 50 years. So we are actually dealing with a lot of older artists, maybe a little different than what Ashley's got going on. Although I know she would not show an older artist. But what I run into that is unpleasant is sometimes someone who's had a pretty long career and is pretty bitter about what's happened, like that they aren't already an art star. And that is just a little hard to take. I mean, we're doing our best. And if that, your place in life, if you're bitter, bringing it to the gallery is maybe not the best approach. I don't like working with those people in general because they seem very unhappy no matter what we're able to do or not able to do. There's certain limitations I have for space and time and effort. It's difficult to want to work with someone who bombards me with a lot of questions. So questions are great, but if somebody's just like, what about this? What about that? What about this? Like, what? Like, maybe call me, like, let's get on the phone or something. But just a certain level of pushiness. So I don't want to say don't be a little pushy, because that's also good. It's also good. But there's that place where someone kind of goes over the line and I just don't want to deal with them again.
What is good about being a little pushy?
You might get something that you want that your gallerist might not know. Like, honestly, we have relationships with lots of people, and we don't always know when somebody is ready to show with a new body of work, maybe. Like, what if you let me know, hey, I've got a new body of work. Would you consider showing it? A lot of artists are a little intimidated about that. I don't know how you guys feel as gallerists, but sometimes I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, let's take a look at it, right? So a little bit of pushiness, or have you looked at what I've been doing? What do you think? Would it fit into your program? Something like that. And then take the answer gracefully, whatever the answer is. The answer could be no, or not now, or again, in our gallery, we might have relationships with an artist for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years before they'll show your work. So you have to be able to like absorb that level of checking in and being a little pushy to keep it on the radar without being bitter about not getting what you think maybe you should be having.
Okay, thanks for clarification on that. We appreciate it. And Karen, if you want to address that, what makes you not want to work with an artist?
When you do give a show to somebody, here are all the works on Instagram. Why come to the gallery? Why come to the gallery? Here's a sneak peek of 2 of my works. I have 8 more. Why don't you come out on Thursday night?
Okay, so thanks for that feedback. I just wanted to share with you, just from my own experience, we had an exhibition that was a group show with a limited number of artists. One of the artists was the premier artist, and we put them on our signature wall. So when you came into the gallery, that was the first artwork that you saw. And the exhibition opening reception was from 7 to 9 p.m. And that artist showed up at 8:30 to the opening. And all evening, people asked, where is this artist? Where is this artist? And it was embarrassing that we gave them the primary space in the gallery, but they weren't there. There's other artists that we work with. If the gallery opening is from 7 to 9, they show up at 7 and they're there till 9 o'clock. View this as part of their job as an artist, is to be at the opening, to be there to answer any questions and to help out the gallerists. So if you do not show up at the opening reception, or you don't spend the proper amount of time, that's a huge negative. And this artist in particular, as much as I love this person's work, then I no longer put the effort into promoting them and showing their work. They didn't show respect to us, and therefore we couldn't continue giving them the emphasis. So that, to me, it was a really important example of what not to do as an artist. Okay, so thank you, Gallers, for sharing that. So the next question I have is, what advice do you have for artists on pricing their artwork? So Tavy, if you want to address that first.
I know an artist who showed in the Bay Area for many years, got a gallery in New York. They tripled his prices. He sold more work in 3 months than ever in a year in San Francisco. So a lot of it is the gallery, the place they're at, who their audience is, and that's frustrating as an artist. And I walk this line at Transmission where all artists ourselves. And so we value artwork. So part of my opinion is part of our job is to inform people what art is valued at, or should be possibly valued at. It's really hard because we don't want to squash somebody who values their work, but at the same time, we will try to work with them for a realistic price. And then what I want to say here is, they should go to a lot of galleries and check out the prices of other people's work that's about at their size and scale, and how long they've been working and what their status is. So that's one way for artists to do. Just literally go around and look, and they'll be able to feel what feels about right. If an artist wants 1,000 and for me to sell it at 2,000, really the buyer is probably going to want to pay about $1,000 for it, depending on the work. But that often happens, that somebody will price their work just over where they probably should be. The other thing I notice is we'll sell somebody's work. And we have work ranging. We have 2 by 2 inch paintings right now. They're $120, work up to $15,000. So we do, where we are, we hit this range so people can come in who maybe it's their first purchase as an artist. Maybe they're building up a collection, but they can't really push for the big bucks just yet. Kind of Ashley mentioned that earlier. But the other thing I just want to say, as a gallerist, I've noticed artists, if they sold 3 or 4 things at a certain price, they will want to substantially raise the price for their next show. And I would strongly say maybe don't do that. This is my opinion, because if somebody saw your work and they liked it, they might not have been able to afford it, or maybe they liked it, but just not one of those pieces. They start to watch you and then they come back and then they're like, oh, now I can't afford it. Maybe they've even been thinking about buying your work. But now when you have a new show and they're coming in going, oh, I might buy a piece from this person this time because I've been watching them and I know about what it's worth, then the artist will want to substantially raise their price. And that person who really wanted that work or who's really looking at it doesn't. And I'm not saying this is in every case, but I'll see people sell, raise price, and not sell anything. And it's frustrating to me because I wish they would just hold the line for a couple of years instead of 3 months later, they want their price to go up. So I'm not sure I'm helping anybody decide how to establish the price, but those are my comments.
Yeah, it's helpful to have some guidelines and share different experiences. Okay, so Karen, if you want to unmute yourself and share with us any advice that you might have for artists on pricing their artwork.
Okay. So yes, I have a lot of advice on this. Number one is if you're a new artist coming out, trust your gallery. We're the ones who sell. We know the market. I know what the market will bear for certain pieces. Size is an issue. Medium, is an issue. I do a lot of art on paper. We generally charge less for art on paper. Not always. Again, it's the process and how long it took the artist, and but if you're not a regular selling artist that has already grown into a price point, you've got to trust your gallery. Unless, as I said, you're an somewhat established artist, they have no idea what the market will bear and if people are willing to pay that. You need to trust your gallerist. I sell a lot of work, and I know how to price art. Again, then the other thing is with the raising of the prices, I have some artists like they want to raise like 40% or there's a standard that's acceptable with raising prices, and it's usually 10 to 15%. You do it in increments. You don't go from 0 to 100 in a minute. That takes a little bit of time, and there's a comfort zone that the collector feels comfortable with as well. Like collectors want to hear, oh, well, yeah, we raised the prices a little bit this year, but they expect that. They want that. They hope for that. If we're talking about collectors versus people that just want something pretty in their house. So I would say if you're a new artist and you're interested in working with a gallery, you need to trust your gallery to know how to do that, because we're out there in the mines. We're out there in the mines, and we do it.
Thanks for sharing that. And it's a great take on pricing. And then Ashley, if you want to add to that, what advice do you have for artists on pricing their artwork?
Sure, yeah, pricing is always a tricky beast, and it does kind of depend on the location and the gallery that you're at. But step one that was already mentioned, definitely leave the studio, get to know the market, research what other artists are, making work that is in a similar style and who are also at the same kind of career stage as you. And then also, yeah, see what's actually selling, because even if you see all of these artists pricing their work at, 2,000, maybe, you should underprice a little bit just to kind of, get in the market and create a collector base for yourself. And then also, I'm going to say, please do not double your prices when you work with a gallery. Consistency in pricing is key. Artists should consider the gallery commission as just a cost of doing business, because, ideally, the gallery, if they're doing their job and selling your artwork, it's great. You do not mind the commission. Yeah, so keep your prices consistent. And then also on the other note, steep discounts and studio sales, that can definitely frustrate some collectors who invested in the full price at the gallery. I've been in some tricky situations with that. So it's always just good to start, conservatively with your pricing, and then just have more room to grow. That way you can just encourage newer, new young collectors to invest right away, without overpricing too soon. So if you do want, some tiered pricing strategies just to make everyone happy, you could offer limited edition prints, smaller works, just a variety of work price points.
Thank you so much. So I just want to add, to reinforce to artists that there is one price and one price only for art, and that's the retail price. So artists sell their work for the retail price, galleries sell their work for the retail price. And there's no undercutting of galleries in their pricing. So that's really, to me, the number one rule of pricing. There's only one price, and that's the retail price. Okay, thank you, Gallers, for your advice on that. And then, Karen, I'd like to ask you a new question. What general advice do you have for an artist who's just starting out in their career? So go ahead and unmute yourself. And could you address any advice that you might have for a new artist?
Do your work. Do your work till you feel you're ready to show your work. First of all, you have to have enough work, okay? So starting out, you need to accumulate a nice body of work. That's the number one thing, because you can't promote it or sell it or anything if you don't have it. So as advice would be, do your work, get in the studio, and practice is the best thing you can do. To start off with as a new artist, do your work, and then when you're at a good point, start approaching the galleries. I think galleries are important. I really do. I still feel the galleries are important, and I know that many artists out there, they do sell off of Instagram, and that's a good avenue now for artists, new artists. But I still feel like people want to see the work in person. They want to walk around it and really see the colors, but just do your work and believe in yourself. And like, if you build it, they will come, it will happen. I just say do your work, and let the rest happen.
Okay, Karen. Thank you. I basically say the same thing when I give advice to artists. Your job as an artist is to make art, and the more art that you make, the better you get. So your job as an artist is not to sell the art. Your job as an artist is to make art and get better. So thank you, Karen. So Ashley, do you want to add to advice for artists that are just starting out in their career?
Yeah, I can completely agree 100%. Put the time in, do the work, do what it takes to build a cohesive portfolio that, represents what you're trying to say. Also, I think it's super beneficial to just network and meet people that are in the art world, attend openings, go to art fairs, go to different art networking events, do educational learning such as this Zoom that we're in right now, just to learn a little bit more about the art world if you're just starting off. And then, with that, you might meet someone, you might make, a new connection, maybe see a mentor that can help shape your artistic practice. Apply to open calls to get your name out there and just kind of get in the cadence of what galleries are looking for. And again, embrace rejection as growth. It's just a part of the process. And I think each time you apply to a new show, hopefully you learn something from it. And again, it's always, I'm going to keep touting social media and Instagram, but I think it is a great tool to just get your name out there, meet people, connect. It's a great way to, slide into some gallery DMs and just, hey, I really like the opening that you had. Great artist. I look forward to seeing you. And then the more your name is just in front of the right people, the easier it'll be later on just to be top of mind when an opportunity comes.
Okay, you mentioned a cohesive body of work. So could you expand on that, on what you mean by a cohesive portfolio?
Well, for me, it's easy to market and sell an artist's body of work that just maintains just a clear, cohesive style. So I guess, if an artist approaches me and they have one abstract painting, a painting of a cat and a painting of, a bunch of people, it's so different. Maybe, the color's different, the style's different. And so it's like, what are you trying to say as an artist? What story am I trying to pitch? Where are we going with this? Like, it's great that an artist has the realm and the talent to do all of these things. But in terms of a gallery trying to sell the work, it's easier when the artist has their own style that makes them unique.
And why is that, can I ask?
Oh my goodness. Because we have way too many Andy Warhols out there. We need we need some new voices, some new talent.
Okay, Ashley, thanks so much. And Tavy, if you want to add to that, what general advice do you have for artists just starting out in their career?
Well, we just touched on something which artists starting out, I think, need to think about, and I call it playing in the arena. I had an artist bring in all her paintings of Buddha. Okay, there's 1,000 artists playing in the arena of Buddha paintings. You can play in that arena. You can decide to be the best ever and compete in that arena, but understand the arena you're in. So as a young artist or a new artist, I think it's important. You may not have seen that many of those kind of paintings before, but I've seen a lot of them. And so it's important to sort of understand the arena you are working in. And it might be your passion, in which case you should keep going with it. And I appreciate that. At Transmission, we have a saying that an artist doesn't know who they are till they've been working about 10 years post whatever school they were in. Then they know who they are after about 10 years. Then they really start to know who they are. And so I see some of the artists in the audience who I know have been probably working more than 10 years. But as artists starting out, that growth phase, that development phase I don't think you can just skip over it easily. And Ashley mentioned entering open calls. I think that's a really important practice. It helps you develop your professional ability to organize your images, submit a cohesive statement, show up on deadline, participate in shows, look how work is being presented if you're starting out. That's a really good way to start. Another possible way, I'm not necessarily 100% promoting it, but is joining organizations like Richmond Art Center, Berkeley Art Center, et cetera, that have member shows or maybe curated member shows. You get to start to be part of the community. You get to start to see other things that might inspire you in some way. So if you're just starting out as an artist, I would say understand that it's a lifelong, if you've got the passion for art, it's a lifelong thing that you care about, and you're going to be developing all along that life.
Okay, Tavy, thank you so much for sharing that. I just want to reiterate what Tavy said about joining art organizations. I think it's so valuable for an artist starting out to join local or regional art organizations, to participate and meet other artists and learn of opportunities and learn from the other artists. And also be a part of a community. There's nothing that gives you more confidence than being amongst other artists. And then you start to feel, oh, yes, I am an artist. I am a professional. So, joining these organizations and participating just feeds you and feeds your career. And I think that's really important for artists that are starting out. So thank you, Tavi, for sharing that. So let's just get to a little bit of logistics. So Ashley, what is your submission policy for reviewing artists' work, and how do artists go about getting noticed by you?
Well, I tend to accept artist portfolios and submissions just on a rolling basis. So you're welcome to email me. And if there is an upcoming opportunity that I think your work will be a good fit with, I will get you at the top of the list and we'll get rolling. Otherwise, if I don't have any opportunities or group shows coming up, I add all of the artist submissions that I receive via email into its own dedicated email list. So when I do, that email list is the first to receive any notifications of upcoming opportunities that I'm doing. I also tend to have 3 to 4 open calls that I share on the website, social media, and the email newsletter. So that's another way to just see, if you would rather not email me, but apply to a specific show, just be on the lookout or join the mailing list.
And what do you expect to be in the content of an email that an artist sends to you for submission?
Just for the email, it's pretty, I don't need like too much information, just basic contact info and either like a website link that goes directly to what you're working on right now that you're focused on. Otherwise, you can also send a PDF, but sometimes those get lost in translation with attachments. So a direct website link is better with the current work that you're working on.
Okay, Ashley, thanks so much. And Tavi, do you want to add to that? What is your submission policy for Transmission Gallery for reviewing artwork by artists?
Sure. Artists can email us with a direct link to their website and their Instagram if they have it. We like to see both things. If they want to throw in 1 or 2 JPEGs of what they're working on, not giant resolution, but that helps us when we open up the email to just see maybe what we're looking at, a very brief statement about what the work is, like, is it figurative or abstraction or expressionist, however they want to describe it in the first sentence. Also, I'll say I have seen some beautifully presented PDFs that really get my attention because I know that person, or they hired somebody to do it, can really organize themselves and their work. So if you do that, again, there are sometimes issues with attachments, but a lot of times I really appreciate a PDF that presents sort of a body of work, and here's like this few pieces. That's cool too.
Okay, so when you say a PDF, you're having, is it a single sheet with multiple images? Is that what you're talking
It's a
about?
document with many pages typically.
Okay.
So it might have the artist's statement. Honestly, I don't care about your statement much. A little bit. It's good to know what you're doing. So statements are important, but really what we care about is how the work looks, how it's going to look in our gallery. And we do care a little bit about your bio and resume, but like we will show work of people who've barely shown, though we most often show people who've their bio is 2 pages long, 3 pages long, 4 pages long. But don't let that stop you. We've showed people who had very little exhibition experience. So PDF that has those documents, but really has photographs in the PDF sort of organized in a thematic way, giving the title, size, medium of the work, so that I can just look at that one page and sort of see your body of work of what you're working on, maybe 2 pages laid out for me right there. And I don't have to click around trying to find what you're trying to show me.
And would the PDF be created like as a Word document and then converted to a PDF file?
Yeah, I would, if I was doing it, I would create it as a Word document, maybe pages, convert it to a PDF file, and possibly if the images are too big, you'll need to compress that PDF file so it's not too monster big. So I don't know if that made sense to everybody here, but if you have Adobe Acrobat Pro, you can compress a PDF. So it might behoove you as an artist, if you don't know how to do this, to find somebody who could, but you don't need to. You can also just send the email link. So I'm basically saying if you're capable of the PDF, that is also a really nice way to present information. Like sending me 20 JPEGs, please don't do that.
Okay, Davey, thank you for the specifics on that. And Karen, if you want to unmute yourself and share with us what your submission policy is for reviewing artwork.
Yeah, I do want to see a statement and I do want to see a bio if you have one. And if not, that's okay too. But I am interested in that. You know, I like to see where the artists come from. That doesn't mean that you know, if somebody said, oh, I'm a self-taught artist and I like the work, it doesn't matter. Just ditto on what the other ladies have said. I don't want to see, you know, a whole 8 or 10 or 15 images. If you have a website, send me a link or a PDF of, you know, I like to see 6 images. I don't like to see more than that. And if you do have a bio, send that. And I do like to see the statement. I think it's important for me.
And
But
share with us why you feel an artist statement is important to you.
you're just getting in the mind of the artist, you know, what they're thinking, you know, when they're creating the work, what inspired them to do the work. Um, and you know, right off the bat, yes, you're going to look at the visuals first and you're going to go delete or, oh, I'm going to look into this a little bit. Then you take the next step. And I like having a little bit of a bio because if I go to the next step, I'm looking at them a little bit. Oh, they've shown here. Oh, they have their, you know, MFA or they're self-taught. Wow, they come from a family of artists, you know, something like that. I find it interesting and I like it. Of course, the visuals are going to do it every time. Like I always say to people, I always look and I always do look. I do.
Okay, Karen, thank you so much. So I want to ask Tavi, in general, how do you find new artists? When I've asked this question to gallerists in the past, the answers have surprised me because I always assume, oh, you know, an artist sends an email and that's how gallerists find artists, new artists for their gallery. But I've had a lot of surprises in answers from gallerists. So I want to ask you that. So Tavi, if you want to share with us in general, how does Transmission Gallery generally find new artists for their gallery?
Well, here's another thing where whatever I say is a general rule, there's exceptions. So whatever, you know, whatever anybody tells you about how to do it doesn't mean it didn't get done a different way by somebody. Ashley's mentioned Instagram a lot. The owners of Transmission look at Instagram a lot. And they will look at artists on Instagram and they will consider it. The other thing that often happens is one or the other of us, including me, go to a lot of other art shows and we might see an artist and we'll say, hey, look at this artist. We do take the submissions that come in. And I usually am a little bit of the gatekeeper there, but I usually pass them all on to Ruth and Cameron. And we look and we just quickly are like, yes, no, interesting. We might see this person's work come through again. I'd like to say that to young artists too. For us, you know, don't hesitate to send us another email in 9 months or a year of what you're working on now, because part of it is just getting your name up to the top because there's so much. So I hesitate to be inundated with emails, but I also want people to know it's a process. The other thing that often happens is we will show an artist and they will have friends, and their friends are usually really good artists, often really good artists. And they will say to us, you know, have you ever looked at my friend's work? And we'll look at it and we'll go, well, yeah, that's pretty good. So that happens too. Walking through group shows, walking through member shows, artists have been spotted. Sometimes we'll have a theme for a show we want to do. We usually don't do open calls, but we'll have a theme and we'll go, we need one more artist for this. And we'll just sort of look. And then we'll say, oh, look, here's a list of people who showed together and who else is on this list. And then we'll look at them. So we will go online and look at other exhibitions where somebody has shown similar work, and we'll look through the list of people who have shown and just look at that.
Okay, thanks for giving us several different scenarios. And Karen, do you want to address that as well? So in general, what's the best way that you find new artists for your gallery?
I do a lot of art fairs, so I do get out. I'm a New Yorker. I have family back in New York. I do get out. I like to see the work in person if possible. I have been looking on Instagram lately, but I do go to MFA shows, and I do look online. I don't really like to look too much at other galleries because I'm kind of like looking for something different. You know, I'm looking for the little gem, and I like that. I find it very fun to like get them out there and put them up there. And it's like, wow, who is that? You know? And I think people like the fact that they're not seeing their artist in everybody's living room.
Yeah, Karen, thank you. So Ashley, if you want to address that also, like how do you find new artists in your gallery outside of the email with the link to your website?
Yeah, I think we basically covered it all. Yes to everything, you know, yes to the open calls and the email submissions, yes to Instagram and social media, also referrals and just receiving recommendations from other artists and gallerists and collectors. And also, you know, just getting out of the gallery. And, you know, I also attend art fairs and go to open studios and just art events in general. But you also never know when you're going to meet somebody. I ended up finding an artist at Whole Foods just because the line was so long. And the person in front of me had a really interesting tote bag with, you know, like a really cool piece of art printed on it. And, you know, it was like, oh man, I don't know how long we're going to be in this line. You know, so I just asked, like, wow, that's a great tote bag. Where did you get it? And turns out they're an artist. And, you know, it just trying to think of creative ways to strike up a conversation. You never know who knows somebody who knows somebody.
So we're all going to print tote bag with our artwork and carry it with us everywhere we go. And
yeah, you never know.
Have a business card to hand out.
Yes.
Stephen, I want to add something. Now, we talked a lot about Instagram and stuff, and we do look for artists on Instagram and online. I want artists to understand we don't show someone just because we saw them on Instagram or online. We look at them, we might follow them, we'll do a studio visit. There's going to be that, I think Karen talked about, the work in person is huge. So that introduction might come through an online moment, but that's not how you're necessarily going to get the show.
So that doesn't seal the deal.
No, definitely not. Absolutely not.
And what do you expect, since you brought up a studio visit, what do you expect in a studio visit?
I expect the artist to have a cohesive body of work, which Ashley mentioned. We have gone to see artists on the basis of seeing one or two great things online. That's the only two pieces they have in their studio. They haven't painted for 2 years. They have no plans to paint in the future. We can't show that person. So I expect a cohesive body of work. I expect it to be pretty current, work in progress, somebody who's got a vision for themselves and their art. And nobody has to clean up their studio necessarily, but it's nice if there's a cup of coffee.
A little hint there. Okay. Okay, thank you. So I really appreciate the gallerists giving us their feedback and recommendations and suggestions. So I want to thank the artists for attending this evening. I especially want to thank the gallerists for participating, sharing their knowledge, expertise, and experience with us tonight. And it's not always easy to answer direct questions. It's not always easy to be candid, but that's what's part of our goal tonight, is to have the gallerists answer candidly questions that I was posing for them. So let's get a little round of applause to the gallerists. Thank you so much for participating with us. Thank you, artists, for attending. And I hope to see you all at future programs. So good night, everybody.